Hello. So I thought I would talk about personality tests and celebs that I think are of a certain personality um, that is similar to me, which is Enneagram Type 5. So I'm sure you've heard of the 16 personalities or the MBTI, Myers-Briggs Type Indicator. It was created pretty much by Carl Jung, and it's pretty good, but I think that by taking that one as well as the Enneagram, I think it's kind of like peanut butter and jelly. They go really good together. And so if you know your MBTI or your 16 personality, it's really good to also know your Enneagram. And so for me, I am an Enneagram Type 5. And so I am able to figure out other Enneagram Type 5s. I'm not as good as figuring out other INTJs. If I'm around them long enough, I kind of can figure them out. But I think it's easier for me to figure out like an ENFP. I think because I was in a long-term relationship with a couple in ENFP type of men. And so, and I've had friends that were ENFP. I've also dated ENTPs. And so it's easier to figure those out. Versus other personalities. I can definitely figure out if someone's an empath or intuitive versus sensor, most definitely if I'm around them as well. But anyway, so my MBTI, my 16 personality is INTJ. My Enneagram is Type 5. And so who I think is also Type 5, because I see the similarities and the patterns are very similar. So I'm just going to list them. So first of all, Nicolas Cage. So he gets a lot of flack for being a method actor, but he's a really good actor. I watched this movie not long ago about the tribulation stuff, and he was in it. He was the best actor. He was the strongest actor, and you could tell the people around him were like probably got their lessons in high school or something. They just were not at his level. He really is a talented actor. And I mean, at one time he was an A-list star. So in the 90s, he like crushed it. But, he then started just like acting to act in anything he could get because he was mismanaging his money and just blowing through it. And so he was taking any role he could just so he could pay the bills, which, I mean, you can't blame him. And, he had to stay on top of his taxes too, and he lost a lot of stuff and lost houses because of not paying taxes, mismanaging his money and whatnot. But the weirdness of Nicolas Cage, that is definitely the eccentric personality, all of that. That's very Type 5. Johnny Depp is another Enneagram Type 5, big time. He is definitely an Enneagram Type 5. So is Tim Burton. When I watched Edward Scissorhands, I was like, oh my God, that is the most Enneagram Type 5 movie I've ever seen. That is so Enneagram Type 5. And, Edward Scissorhands, very Type 5. I mean, it really made me sad. I'm like, that's me. So, that is a very Type 5 movie written by a very Enneagram Type 5 person. And so, yes, very Enneagram Type 5. I'm trying to think of others. When you go on like Google and you type in famous people who have this blah blah blah, when I look at them, I'm like, no, they got it wrong, because this is somebody who thinks they understand and they really don't. But for me, that has that personality, yes. So weird things I remember doing as a kid, I would watch ants like crawling. I thought that was fascinating. Johnny Depp had a bug thing, so he was interested in bugs at one point too, even into his adulthood. So we're sometimes really strange. Very bright, very smart, very observant, and that's what made him a good actor as well. So just like Nicolas Cage is a really good actor, so is Johnny Depp, and it's because of the ability to observe and understand people in a way because of the sitting back and observing. And so and we do that a lot because it's easier to observe than interact. Not to say we don't have social skills, but it's easier to observe than it is to interact, I will say. I've already made a lot of videos about Enneagram Type 5 and hashed it out, so you're welcome to look back in my other videos about them. But for sure, Nicolas Cage, Johnny Depp, Tim Burton. I hate to admit this one, James Franco. James Franco reminds me a lot of myself when it comes to his education. He kept going to school and kept getting degrees. That is very Enneagram Type 5. And the rest of his behavior, not so much. I don't approve of his other behavior. So scratch all the other stuff out. But unfortunately, James Franco, I do think he is an Enneagram Type 5. So Edward Scissorhands, that character, very much Enneagram Type 5. Also, if you've seen the movies that were on basic cable called The Librarian with Noel Wyle, very Enneagram Type 5 character. And actually, I had a coworker tell me that that character was me. I was typing up my notes, writing up my notes, and in my head and just in my own world. It was in the day, and I had just seen all my patients out in the field, and I come back to the outpatient clinic to type my notes and to turn it in at the end of the day. And my coworker, she was like, "Have you seen the Librarian yet?" And I'm like, "No, why would I?" Thinking that sounds boring. I don't care about librarians. I like the library sometimes, but do I want to watch a movie about someone who's a librarian? That sounds boring. And she says, "That guy is definitely you. That guy is so you, it's not even funny. You have to watch that movie because that is definitely you. If you have a way to watch that movie, you need to see it because that guy is so you, it's not even funny." And I was like, kind of getting sick of her saying that. And I was like, okay, and I was like, this is so condescending and rude, but whatever, because I hate it when people think they've got me figured out and they'll say, "Oh, this girl is just like you," or "This is just like you." And then it's pretty insulting. And it's not a compliment. But then I watched that movie and I was like, oh my God, she nailed it. That is me. This is very me. The awkwardness, the clumsy, when you're feeling awkward. Like there was times like I would be in my own head, and especially if I'm worried and thinking about a lot of stuff, like rehearsing something in my head, or thinking about something, or worried about something like a bill, or worried about how someone's going to react, and I'm rehearsing the scenario in my mind, I've been known to run into a wall. Just boom, right into a wall. Go to open a door and like hit my head in a weird way, and people like were laughing at me all the time in my office, and I was like, I look like I'm trying to do slap comedy or whatever, like the Jim Carrey type of comedy, and I'm like, I am not trying to abuse myself and do this slap comedy to make people laugh. This is accidental awkward clumsiness. And they, I didn't ever explain that, but they all knew it. But sometimes my eccentric ways of talking, I know that it's very Type 5. I've tried to work on it, and I think some days when I'm just succinct, I think that does better for me than if I'm allowed to talk more than a couple minutes. So I try to rein it in. But anyway, yeah, so the character of the cable movies called The Librarian, I think it was on TNT or TBS, one of those two. So yes, that Noah Wyle portrayed very much Enneagram Type 5. Edward Scissorhands, very Enneagram Type 5. I can't think of anything else off of the top of my head, but for sure, Johnny Depp, Nicolas Cage, Tim Burton, and James Franco, unfortunately. Very Enneagram Type 5 personality, just like myself. If I think of any more, I'll make a part 2 to this video, but those are the celebs I can think of that I definitely see bits of myself of, and definitely recognize the Enneagram Type 5 and go, yep, definitely. You know, so anybody that you think are a little bit weird and eccentric, oh, Prince is definitely Enneagram Type 5. I think he was also possibly an INTJ. He was very opinionated and very judgmental. Which I try to ring that in, especially as a Christian. But when someone does something morally wrong, that I'm like, oh, that's so wrong, that's so wrong, that's so wrong. It's really hard. Like I can't I can't go and be besties with them. I can't say hi to them. I can't go and sit down with them like as if nothing happened. And so when I see other people do that and they play the game and they fake it, I'm just amazed by it. I hate the gossip. I hate the games. I hate all of it. And I'm pretty certain Prince, the musician Prince, I'm pretty sure he was also an Enneagram Type 5. He was very eccentric and very inventive, very clever with music, very talented guitarist, very talented musician, and very talented performer. He was asked to perform for, I don't remember if it was for one of those big football game things that they have where they have celebrities perform. I forgot what you call those because I never watched that stuff. But it was pouring rain and he performed as if it wasn't raining, and he was just magnificent. I mean, if you look at clips of him on YouTube, I mean, he was a magnificent performer and put everything into his performances and just was amazing. So I'm just, you know, I admire that. I think it took a lot for Johnny Depp to become, get over social anxiety to sing. And so I'm proud of him for singing. I think he needs some breathing exercises and help to become a better singer. That's just me because of the fact I have an opera singing background or classical singer background, but I'm proud of him for doing it. You know, it's more than me. I can't go out there and just sing. It creeps me out. The one time I did an open mic, the crowd that came up to me afterwards and this couple that were just staring at me like I'm this superstar, it really creeped me out. I was like, this is not for me. I'm not going to be some shiny thing to be stared at. I don't like being stared at. No, thank you. So I couldn't do it. I had to do that as a kid, as a teenager, a lot. When I was in foster care, and I just trying to do the open mic for myself. I think I haven't healed enough or something. I don't know, but it creeped me out to have that attention, and I could tell that Johnny had the same issue, and so for Tim to force him to sing for the movies that he had him in, I think that is fantastic. It helped him to get over that, so that he could perform and sing with his band and sing with his buddy Jeff Beck and sing with his Hollywood Vampire band and stuff. So that's fantastic. But yeah, and Nicolas Cage, fantastic actor. I love him. James Franco is a good actor. He can be funny with his comedic timing. He has studied a lot and went to a lot of different schools. He's very intelligent. He's just a very disgusting guy. So whatever. I mean, Johnny also went for a minor. You know, Johnny went for Winona Ryder when she was only 17 and he was 27. Okay, so he's pushing 30. It wasn't like he was 20 years old dating a 17-year-old, and even still, if he was 20, that's still gross because she's a high school student, and he's an adult. So he's pushing 30 dating Winona, and she's only 17 at the time, which I think is gross, which, you know, people, especially women, came at me when I said that was wrong. They were like, well, it's different because she's a professional actor. And I'm like, that shouldn't matter that she's working. She's still a child, you know. I worked when I was 17. I can't imagine at 17 dating a guy that's almost 30. It's just disgusting, you know. So, yeah, she was just a high school kid. So, even if she was working as a professional actress and, you know, whatever, I think it's really disgusting. So I like Johnny Depp. I don't approve of that. I don't approve of James Franco also going for a minor. And I think it was also a teenager around the same age. I don't know. I don't really care. I don't really watch anything James Franco was in except for the movie This Is the End. That movie, the apocalyptic movie, is hilarious. That is pretty funny. If you haven't seen it, you should watch it. But I'm pretty certain that those are all the Enneagram Type 5s I can recognize and see. And like I said, if I think of any others or if I see any others, I'll make a part 2. Otherwise, thanks for watching. Have a great day or evening.